Shadows of the Past. The second audio series, Hunter and Prey. The air in the old train depot was thick with the smell of rust and dust, but the tension was what truly choked David Clark. He stood frozen, staring at Sarah Miller's pistol, the cold steel barrel aimed squarely at his chest. His mind reeled with the betrayal, the lies, the bitter taste of a perfect facade crumbling into dust. In his mind, this was it. The grand finale. But the shot never came. Instead, Sarah lowered the gun slowly, a wry, tired expression replacing the cold resolve on her face. "You knew the gun wasn't loaded, didn't you?" she asked, her voice softening just a fraction. David shook his head, his heart still trying to jackhammer its way out of his ribcage. "No." A hint of a smile touched her lips. "It was a test, David. When you didn't drop the chip and run, I knew you were an ally. Not just a cop with a code, but a good man who wouldn't give up." She took a breath, the weariness suddenly overwhelming her. "They took my kids, David. They're holding them somewhere. And they're waiting for me to show up. Alone. I can't do this by myself. I need your help." The pieces clicked into place, and the shock that had held him frozen gave way to a wave of understanding and a deep, crushing empathy. This wasn't a game of hunter and prey. It was a mother fighting for her children against an enemy she knew better than anyone. The Syndicate was always one step ahead, she explained, leading him out of the shadows. "I knew they'd uncover my plan. The public data dump was a smokescreen, a distraction. The real cradle, that's my kids. Their safety is the only thing that matters." She looked at him, her eyes pleading. "I left those clues, hoping a detective like you, someone who saw the cracks in the perfect facade, would be stubborn enough to follow them." David's rage at being manipulated was quickly replaced by a fierce sense of duty. "You put me in the crosshairs," he said, but his tone wasn't an accusation. It was a statement of fact. "I know," she said, her voice filled with regret. "I had to. You were the only one who didn't fit into their world. You were a wild card. I trusted you because you're the one person who would break every rule to find the truth." David knew in that moment that his old life was gone forever. He wasn't just a cop anymore. He was a piece of her puzzle. He was the last hope for a woman who was a hero, not a villain. "I believe you," he said, his voice firm with renewed purpose. "Tell me what we do next." Mark Williams nearly jumped out of his skin when David and Sarah's faces popped up on his laptop screen from a public Wi-Fi signal. "I knew it," he whispered, his face a mixture of fear and excitement. "Where do we go?" Sarah laid out her final gambit. She had located the Syndicate stronghold, a fortified villa hidden in the mountains. It was where they were holding Lily and Ben. "They're expecting me to walk right in," she explained, "so we're not going through the front door. We're going to hit them where they don't expect it." With Mark's tech skills, they created a false trail, broadcasting a fake plan across the dark web to draw Syndicate enforcers away from the villa. While the enemy scrambled to follow the ghost, David and Sarah raced toward the mountain stronghold. The villa was a fortress. High walls, motion sensors, and armed guards on every corner. But Sarah, who had once been a part of this world, knew its weaknesses. "They won't be expecting us to come from below," she said, pointing to a rarely used maintenance tunnel. "This is how we get in." Working as a flawless team, David and Sarah neutralized the guards, slipped through the tunnel, and found the room where Lily and Ben were being held. The kids were scared but unharmed. "Mom!" Lily and Ben cried, rushing to Sarah. At that moment, Thomas Sterling, his face twisted with rage, burst into the room. "You thought you could outsmart me, Sarah," he sneered. "You forgot who taught you everything you know." Sterling wasn't just a crooked politician. He was the regional head of the Syndicate, the mastermind behind their entire operation. Sarah raised her gun, but Sterling's men opened fire. David shielded the children, returning fire with lethal precision. "Mark, we need a diversion." David yelled into his earpiece. Mark, who was providing support from his makeshift command center, hacked into the villa's security system, triggering the fire alarms and locking down the main doors. In the ensuing chaos, the lights went out. Sarah, a blur of motion in the darkness, engaged Sterling. It wasn't a fight between a spy and a businessman, it was a mother's fury against a ruthless tyrant. She was the phoenix, and she would not be stopped. With a final, decisive blow, she subdued Sterling, leaving him unconscious. David, Mark, and Sarah with her children made it to a safe house, where they called in the authorities. Thomas Sterling and his men were arrested. The Syndicate's local cell was dismantled, and the conspiracy was exposed, but the true scope of the global organization remained a mystery. As Sarah held her children tight, a quiet peace settled over her. She was safe, for now. "I have to leave," she told David. "Even with Sterling gone, they won't stop. I have to go back into the shadows to keep my family safe." She handed David a flash drive. "This is the real data. All of it. Every name, every location, every dirty secret. It can't be released yet. It's the key to bringing them all down, but you have to be smart. It's my final gift to you. My last piece of the puzzle." Sarah gave David a knowing look, then disappeared into the night with her children, leaving him with a new purpose. David returned to his life, but he was fundamentally changed. He was a hero who knew the truth about the world. His life was now inextricably linked to the secret war he had helped expose. He wasn't just a detective. He was the keeper of the cradle. And his work had just begun. This is not the end. It's a new beginning.